Is listening to the bells inside, the inner melody, a mechanical part of meditation? If so, how can it be made into love and devotion?
Is listening to the bells inside the inner melody a mechanical part of meditation? If so, how can it be made into love and devotion? When we withdraw our attention behind the eyes in order to listen to what's going on there, we notice that we are talking inside. So we listen to our thoughts. We have been doing it all our life. It's not that we are not listeners, we are 24/7 constant listeners. Nobody has ever stopped listening, whether you meditate or not. We are constantly listening. Most of the time, we're listening to our own thoughts. Whatever those thoughts are, our attention goes there. When we listen to a thought about something, it's generally outside of ourselves. And that is why the thought takes our attention outside. Almost all the time, our attention is outside because we think about outside things. We don't think what is happening inside. So, first thing is that we are automatic listeners and we are listening to things which are taking us outside because we're listening to our thoughts. Is there anything else we can listen to besides our thoughts? We can. It requires two things. One, how to stop listening to the thoughts. Secondly, then finding out if there is anything else to listen to. If you can't do the first part, you can't do the second. How to stop listening to the thoughts is what we do by chanting or repeating a mantra. When we repeat Simran mantra, words given by somebody outside, not our own thoughts, somebody else's has given us word to repeat and keep on repeating, we begin to listen to those words and thoughts take a second place. So, listening to artificial words put into the thought stream prevents us. And what do the words do that we repeat? The words raise a curiosity. Okay, I'm repeating words, what do they mean? The other word we knew, thought we knew, was taking us outside. What do they mean? They mean nothing. Or they mean something, we don't know what they mean. So our attention begins to go to who is listening rather than what we are listening to through the thoughts. When it happens, who is listening, other sounds can be heard which are not words and not thoughts. What are those other sounds? They're musical sounds. Sounds like a truck passing outside, sounds like drums beating, sounds like thunders. So a lot of sounds can be heard if you are not listening to thoughts. So go back to listening to thoughts, the sound disappears. Because it depends where your attention is. If your attention is on listening to thoughts, your mind will go out. If your attention is not to listen to it, not do anything else, not to listen to them by a device of repeating words which have no recollections outside, then you have no choice but to listen to something else. So these sounds start coming in. Sounds come right, left, above, below, center. We don't know what those sounds are. Maybe those sounds are, many of them, we can even hear our own breathing. We can hear heartbeat sometimes when we concentrate a lot listening to sounds. So many physical sounds we can hear. Then we find if we are trying to listen attentively. Now that's the key. Remember, this is the key. If you want to listen attentively, then the attention goes to the listener, not to the thought. That's the whole secret. The secret is not to give attention to what you're listening to, but yourself listening. When that happens, more attention is who's listening to these outside sounds. A sound emerges, which is different from the other sounds. That's what we are calling it resembles a bell sound. It is not a sound coming from anywhere outside except from the self. Therefore, when you are putting attention on a sound emanating from the self. It's radiating from your own self, inside. Not from the body, not from this sense system, not from any organ at all. It's emanating from your conscious, wakeful self. And it resembles the bell. It's not exactly like a bell, it resembles the bell. When you hear that and you concentrate on that, what are you concentrating on? You're concentrating on the self. When you concentrate on the self, automatically the nature of the self awakens more than it is now. And the nature of the self is to have love, beauty, joy, automatically. These are not nature of the mind, nature of the self. Automatically, when you listen to this sound, and then you associate it not with any other thought, except the thought, your master who loves you so much, he gave that method to do it. You automatically associate with the master, your love and devotion for the master develops. These bell sound, where other small bell sounds come up, they are not the same. They are like other sounds. The sound that is sounding like a bell, which can sometimes be very long peal of a bell. Some people confuse it. Some people say maybe it's a whistle from ourselves. Sometimes a long peal. So that comes from within the self, and that's the whole purpose. The purpose of listening to this sound is that the sound can withdraw your attention to your own self. The secret of enlightenment is to discover yourself. And that's why the sound works.